So back around the time Windows XP came out, Microsoft had just won a major victory. The US Justice Department, who had been pursuing an antitrust case against Microsoft for the past few years, announced that they would no longer be seeking to break up the company. It was a decision that came as yet another blow to the open source software community, and it seemed like an alternative OS to viably compete with the behemoth that was Windows was becoming more and more unrealistic. But today we're going to be talking about one of those attempts, a Linux-based operating system that quickly caught Microsoft's attention because of a similar sounding name. And before Lindows even had a chance to get released, the company behind it found themselves listed as the defendant in a lawsuit for trademark infringement. But fortunately for them, it didn't turn out exactly as Microsoft had hoped. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. So we've taken a look at a handful of Linux distros over the years that were designed for Windows users looking to make the switch, but I don't think any of those gained the level of press coverage that Lindows did, particularly because of the legal action that Microsoft initiated against the company. You see, at this time, Microsoft wasn't really used to losing. They had been engaging in some pretty questionable business practices and had established themselves as the market leader in both operating systems and internet browsers. And you better believe they were going to protect their sacred Windows name from being tarnished by a bunch of plebeian Linux users. So when they caught wind of a new OS that claimed to run both Windows and Linux software called Lindows OS, they quickly filed a lawsuit against them to try and get the name changed. Which brings up an interesting question. Can Microsoft actually claim that the term Windows is theirs and theirs alone? Well, Lindows had a few major arguments in their defense to dispute this. First, they pointed out that Windows as a generic term had been used for years in the computer industry to describe a GUI's windowing system long before the first version of Microsoft Windows was released. They also cited the litigation that Apple brought against Microsoft in 1988, where Microsoft themselves argued that the Windows GUI component was standard treatment in the industry and common to this particular genre of work. Lindows also pointed out that the US Patent and Trademark Office initially denied Microsoft's application to trademark Windows, stating that it was a generic term used to name software containing Windows and software which allows for Windows to function on a screen. It was widely used both by the public, consumers, and the relevant industry, and was in existence and was known prior to adoption by the applicant. Now, the USPTO ultimately approved Microsoft's trademark registration for the Windows term, with no analysis or explanation for its reversal, according to the judge in the Lindows case, which is rather interesting. But Lindows further argued that despite this being the case, numerous companies unaffiliated with Microsoft still use the term in their own products, company names, web domains, and even owned trademarks that contained it. So the judge ended up denying Microsoft's motion for preliminary injunction, allowing Lindows to keep using the name, which of course Microsoft tried to get overturned. They also engaged in the corporate tradition of big lawyer persuasion by suing or threatening legal action against Lindows in France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Sweden, the latter of which granted them a temporary restraining order that prevented Lindows from using their name in the country. And before Lindows could fight any of these cases, they had to deal with a lawsuit from their own business insurance company who refused to defend them, despite the fact that they were, obligated to do so under the policy. Lindows founder Michael Robertson said that they willingly took our premiums and knew our company name and business plan from the outset, and that now we have to spend money hiring even more attorneys to defend a lawsuit against someone who is supposed to be on our side. Well, there's your problem, Michael. Insurance companies are never on your side. I don't care how many times Nationwide tries to tell me that. So needless to say, this was quite the upward battle for Lindows, but all of it worked out for them in the end, because although Microsoft had some success with their legal filings in Europe, here in the US, Lindows was allowed to keep using their name as they pleased while the lawsuit was ongoing, which they sure did. The OS was sold for $50 online and even came pre-installed on a handful of computers at Walmart, starting at less than $200. And I guess Microsoft finally realized that they just weren't going to get the outcome that they wanted, so in mid-2004, they just bought bought the Lindows name for $20 million to ensure it would stop being used. So Lindows became Linspire and is actually still available today, along with the free version appropriately called FreeSpire. Though it's worth noting that the name was bought out some time ago, so the original company isn't involved anymore. But all that aside, today we're going to be checking out version 2.0 of Lindows from September of 2002. Right after a quick word from today's sponsor, Pork Bun. If you're looking to buy a new domain, Pork Bun provides an incredibly straightforward and easy way to do just that. They offer over 500 domain extensions ranging from classics like .com and .org to more fun hip ones like .club or .xyz. All of which are available at low prices and come standard with extras that you might find yourself paying for at those other domain registrars. We're talking an SSL certificate, Whois privacy, URL and email forwarding, and even free trials of their hosting services, which are really affordable too. Plus, they don't nag you with upsells and they don't have any hidden fees whatsoever, which makes the checkout process feel like a breeze. And it's all backed by their 5-star support, which is available 365 days a year. They currently manage over 2 million domains and were crowned the #1 registrar by USA Today for both 2023 and 2024. And right now, you can save $1 on your next domain name purchase by clicking the link in the video description below. So be sure to check them out, and huge thanks again to Pork Bun for making this video possible. Alright, so the reason why I selected version 2.0 is something that I'll explain once we get this thing installed. But of course, we are using the good old-fashioned 98 PC today, which exceeds the minimum system requirements for this operating system. So we're going to go ahead and shut down because I actually have to swap out the CF card. This is seriously like the best thing I've ever done to this computer. I know I've mentioned it multiple times. It is great for filming videos like this. But yeah, so here we are. We got the startup screen. We're booting off the CD right now, and it's going to prepare the installer. The installer is extremely similar to some of the other Linux distros that we've taken a look at before from this time period, and it obviously has a goal of being extremely straightforward so that a Windows user coming over to Linux would be able to get through it with relative ease. So first up, we get a license agreement, which we're totally going to read and accept that. And then you've got 3 options for installation, one of which is grayed out because we don't have Windows on here. So we're just going to choose take over an entire disk, hit next. It doesn't even let us select the disk because there's only one in here. We're going to name the computer. We'll just call this Lindows, and we'll put in my super secure password that I typically do on these things, and hit next. That's literally it. That was what? I mean, less than a couple minutes just going through here. Now, of course, the copying files and everything will take a little bit longer, so we'll let it do its thing. Okay, so that's done. We're going to reboot the machine, and then it's going to bring us to this really lovely screen where it asks us to take out the disk. Yeah, not really extravagant, but hey, I guess it doesn't have to be. So, we'll take out the disk, pressing a key to reboot. Now, detecting hardware, I'm actually curious to see if it's able to pick up on, like, the network adapter that's in here. Well, that's interesting. It brings us to a command line login prompt, which is not what it's supposed to do. And I actually don't know what the login name is, because we just set a password. Is it root? Yeah, it is. Why did it not start the graphical environment? It's supposed to do that. Oh, we get a fatal error. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? That is just wonderful. Well, you know, this is probably because of the GPU that I have in here. It is newer than the operating system itself. It's that FX 5200. So I'm going to open this thing up, take that out, and we'll see if we can just get it to boot using the integrated graphics. Hey, there we go. That's much more like it. So that is interesting, though, that it uses the root account, because that's what I logged into on the command line. Because you see here, it doesn't even give you the option to, you know, type in a username. It didn't give us the username creation option during setup. So yeah, it just uses the root account by default. That's rather surprising. Oh, we got sound. Check that out. So yeah, it plays that little startup jingle and then brings up this page in the web browser just saying congrats on installing Lindows OS, and it tells you what all the icons down here at the bottom do. So this is KDE. If you couldn't already tell, we're actually running Conqueror. That is the web browser. So there you go. And let's just see if this is on the internet. Let's try to go to theoldnet.com. And oh, look at that. Okay, so it's got our network adapter working. That is awesome. I am gonna hop into settings really quickly here because I just want to lower the screen resolution a little bit. So let's quickly go through some programs here. The interesting thing is Konqueror is not the only web browser on this system. In fact, it's not even meant to be the web browser at all, because if you double click on web browser here on the desktop, you see our icons got messed up a little bit. We'll have to kind of rearrange those. It opens up Netscape 7.0. So Konqueror is the file browser, but kind of like Windows Explorer, you know, it has the ability to just go online. In fact, in later versions of KDE, it became a web browser, and then there was another file manager put in place. Now, I talked more in detail about this in my Netscape retrospective video, but at this time, Netscape was actually just a rebadged version of the Mozilla application suite. So if we go into About here, you see it says Netscape 7.0, but then Mozilla 5.0 right here. And just like in the Mozilla application suite, we don't have just the web browser. We've also got a mail client. There's an instant messenger in here that, you know, connects with AIM. So yeah, you can, you know, use that if you want to. We've got a composer for creating a website. This is a WYSIWYG editor. And then we have an address book as well. So yeah, you can just, you know, open up any one of these right from here. They're also in the Lindows start menu, dare I say. No, it's more like the applications menu. But yeah, under internet here, you see you got all those shortcuts in here as well. Later versions of Lindows still used the Mozilla application suite, but they rebranded it as like a Lindows product, so it was called like the Lindows web browser. They also made changes to the IM client in future iterations of Lindows and implemented a rebadged version of Game, which is now known as Pigeon, which just supported multiple IM client protocols. We do have some games in here, but this is all KDE software, so nothing unique to Lindows OS. With the exception of this click and run more option down here, but this is something that shows up in every single one of these categories, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. Something that is really interesting is under Business and Finance. We've got Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and Word viewers in here. And yes, this is Windows software that runs through Wine. So we can open up Word Viewer, and this is version 97. So, you know, here it is. Though I've noticed that clicking the menu bar options doesn't seem to work. Let's see if we can do like Alt-H. Yeah, so we can do that. For whatever reason, we can't really click on them. But yeah, if I were, you know, I can't create a Word document in here, but if I were to go into not the web browser, I don't want to do that. We'll just let that start up, I guess. If I was to go into programs here, we should have a text editor somewhere in here. Business and Finance, maybe. Yeah, text editor. We can just make a little test document here, and we'll just save that. And we'll have to go into the home directory and go into My Documents, and then change this to all files. There's our test document. Open that, and there you go. So we can't edit anything, but if you had Word documents that you wanted to view, you could do that just fine. You know, with the exception of the fact that now the menu options work. That's really interesting. Let's see if we close out of it. Oh yeah, now it's working. Okay, maybe that was a little bug. Yeah, Wine can be pretty hit or miss, especially way back when. But I've just not seen that with a Linux distro before, to include Excel, PowerPoint, and Word viewers, like the official ones that Microsoft made available for download. But yeah, you've got a pretty good selection of software on here. Certainly not the largest amount of programs that I've seen bundled with a Linux distro, but again, they were trying to keep that kind of light, you know, for a Windows user, just to not really get overwhelmed with a bunch of really unnecessary inclusions. They just kind of tried to stick to the must-haves here, so that's pretty great. But then, you also had access to the click and run warehouse, which you could get access to by clicking on any of these options in here, or this shortcut on the desktop. Now, this, to be honest, was kind of a bizarre inclusion, and it's not because this was a bad piece of software. It was actually pretty cool. The best way I can describe this is a graphical front end for the APT package manager. In fact, it does make use of it, which would have been great, but then they decided to turn it into a subscription. So you had to pay $99 per year to get access to the click and run warehouse that had a whole bunch of software available, from free and open source stuff as well as commercial Linux software that you had to pay for. So the idea was basically, hey, here's a nice shiny GUI, you can go in and view the warehouse, download a bunch of software in one click. Of course, this is non-functional now because the server that hosted all this stuff is non-existent, so we can't really do anything in here, but you can at least get a picture as to how this program was laid out and how it would function. Now, to Linspire's credit, they did eventually make this free to use. In fact, they announced a partnership with Canonical in 2007 where Ubuntu users got access to the click and run software beginning with version 7.04, and notably, Linspire became an Ubuntu-based distro, which it still is today. The other really bizarre thing about this operating system is how it was released, in the sense that like how they went about making this available and what they charged for it, because they weren't really consistent with anything. This is more confusing than Windows Vista's release cycle and all the additions that it had, and it was certainly more confusing than what Microsoft offered at the time. So from what I've been able to gather, and honestly I'm still a little bit confused about this, Lindows was only available for download as a standalone thing if you were part of the Insider program prior to, I think, version 3.0. So that made version 3.0 the first general release, again, I think, which is kind of a weird naming scheme, but whatever. So when version 2.0 was out, the Insider program was $99 a year for a 1-year membership, and it got you access to the current Lindows OS version and future sneak previews, as well as the general release when that came out, as well as a 1-year membership to the Click and Run warehouse and some additional things like Star Office 6.0, which was a pretty good deal because the Click and Run warehouse, when it finally got released, ended up costing $99 a year for just that. But when version 3.0 of Lindows came out, the price of the operating system went up to $129 or $119 for the digital-only version, though that did come with 1 year of the Click and Run warehouse, which made the operating system only cost $20 or $30 depending on what version that you got. But this was the only way you could get it from the website, at least as far as I can tell. You had to pay this full price. Though, you could still join the Insider program and get 2 years of the Click and Run warehouse membership for $299 now. Then when version 4 came out, the OS itself went down to $60 or $50 for the digital-only version. The Insider program was still a thing, but now it was $99 for a lifetime membership, which I don't think came with access to the Click and Run warehouse, because it says your lifetime Insider status lasts for as long as you remain a Click and Run warehouse member, which costs $99 per year. So it sounds like it's not really a $99 one-time payment for the Insider program, because you had to pay for the Click and Run warehouse. Again, I think it's not really clear on the website. But what's also kind of bizarre is during this entire time, you could also get Lindows pre-installed on one of those Walmart PCs or inside of certain Linux-related magazines for free. So it was just like really confusing, and I don't know why they didn't just be like, hey, it costs this much money, like permanently. This is how much a license costs. Like, I don't know why they went about charging all these different prices for it. So why did I choose version 2.0? Well, there's a pretty major reason for that, because in later versions, they actually stopped claiming that Lindows could also run Windows programs, and I imagine this was done due to the hit-or-miss nature with running Windows programs through Wine, especially back then. So the website was changed to remove all references to running Windows programs on the OS, and Wine, at least in the ISOs that I downloaded, was just outright removed in version 3 and version 4. They added it back in version 4.5, but it's not the default app associated with exe files, and whenever you try to launch an exe with it, it gives an error, and if you try to go into the configuration, it just says that it can't find the Wine setup tool. So version 2.0 still had Wine built in, and it was, the default program associated with exe files. So naturally now comes the point where we try to run some Windows software on this thing. So I've got 3 things to try out. Of course, you guys know the rule with Half-Life if you've been watching this channel for any length of time. We also have Mario Teaches Typing and Microsoft Office XP, which I think we're going to start with because, you know, considering that we have the Microsoft Office viewers on here, I think it'll be able to run actual Office programs, but we'll see. Those are from Office 97, and this is Office XP, so it is a much newer version. Oh, and this is an upgrade copy anyways. I can't use it. Alright, here we are. And we've got sound, sort of, but the speakers are really... yeah, like that doesn't sound normal. But we'll install front page 98. If I can click on this, that is. There we go. Well, we got the setup background, but we don't have the actual, you know, window. I think it is... okay, well, there is this welcome. That's probably the thing behind it, though. Yeah, that's probably this. And now, yeah, that's right, it shows, like, down here. This is the setup. Like, it just is in this floating window. Oh, there it is. It came up, but now the... oh, shoot. Oh, no, I just closed out of it. Okay, well, after much waiting, we got back here to the wizard. So, we're going to hit next. We'll enter our name. And yes, that information is correct. And our CD key, which I've got on the back of the jewel case. We'll just go with the typical install to keep things simple. Failed to find locale registry key. Will it still install? Okay, select language, US English. Yeah, I'm sure that Wine is not properly emulating that registry key, whatever it's asking for. But, yeah, it's installing. So there you go. Now, of course, we're not done yet. It could still crash. The program could not launch, but this is definitely a good sign. Well, the disk drive has stopped spinning. I think it has frozen. And let's see, can I minimize this and move this around? I can. Can I minimize it? Oh, look at that. Okay, it was this dialogue was stuck behind the setup window. Okay, so please enter a name and password used to identify yourself. Sure, we'll just do root and just MJD for the password. I don't know if it's actually going to be able to install the server extensions. I don't really care if it doesn't because I just want to be able to launch the program. Yeah, I don't know. Where did that window go? It just vanished. Well, we can exit out of the auto run here, but yeah, like there's no other window. It's just this. So I guess we'll just minimize that and go into the menu here and go to programs, and there it is, Microsoft front page. See if we can run this. Okay, this is the startup dialog. I see my name there, so that's something. And yeah, it launched. It's going to try and determine the machine's hostname and TCP/IP. Found that your hostname is Lindows. Okay. And now it says it's not installed properly on the system. Please reinstall Microsoft front page. Click OK to exit. Okay, runtime error, abnormal program termination, and it just closes out of it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the setup didn't finish? I don't know. I mean, because that window just vanished. Can we close out of this? Well, not from here. Try just to close Wine. Okay, we got that closed. Let's try it again. Okay, so we got to the getting started thing. Let's just open the existing personal web there. Server cannot complete your request. Can we just make a new one? Personal web, my web. Server cannot complete your request. Yeah, I don't think that the server extensions, yeah, I don't think it installed that. Well, let's try to maybe go back into CD-ROM here. And there's this serve.ext folder. I guess, yeah, this is front page 98 extensions, x86, ENU. This is probably the one we want. Let's see what this is. Okay, well, that just extracted something. Okay, it detected front page 98. Setup is complete. You may now run Microsoft front page. Okay. Could not complete your request. Okay, yeah, it still is complaining about... Well, yeah, we got the same error here, but it mentions the server extensions here, so I'm guessing that's probably what it is. So, well, hey, we got the program installed, and that's honestly all I really wanted to do. It kind of sucks we can't use it without the server extensions, but yeah, there you go. That is, that's Microsoft front page. So now we're going to move on to Mario Teaches Typing. Actually, you know, I think this, is this a DOS program? I think it is. So we're going to try the original CD first. I do have that no CD crack if we need to do that, like if the installer doesn't run or something. But let's just see what happens here. Okay, so the auto run comes up. Almost. Unfortunately, the most important option just doesn't display. I imagine it's up here, like above these, but, you know, can't actually click on it. So, okay. We'll hit exit, go into the CD, and try just to run setup. Unable to run the commands. It can't find the CD. What? Okay, I guess, did the mount change or something? Because that's... Yeah, that's the CD-ROM. Oh, yeah, okay, there. Now, it just didn't... I guess it just took a little while for it to mount entirely, but the auto run came up. We may try the auto run again. Will it actually... No, it's going to do the same thing. Okay, well, that was bizarre. Well, anyway, let's run setup.exe. Okay, that's a good sign. Oh, and it's playing the WAV file. All right. The next thing it should do is ask us, did you hear the WAV file? Which, yeah, I've been noticing this because the same thing happened with front page. It's like sometimes, like, is it just behind here? Yeah, it is. Okay, so it just, sometimes the setup background gets put on top of the prompts here, which is very annoying. Yes, we heard the sound file. Now we need to get out of that, push this out of the way, because apparently we can't, yeah, like this, we can't move the background to be behind the setup wizard itself. Can we minimize this? No, it's just going to minimize the whole thing, yeah. Okay, so restore. Alright, now the background's crammed in this tiny little pixel down here. But, yeah, okay, so we'll hit next. We will agree. C Sierra Half-Life. It just closed. Are you freaking kidding me? It just closed. It opens up that prompt behind here. Let's just move this over to the side. Yes, we heard the sound file. And then we'll just go through this here. So, yes, we agree. C Sierra Half-Life. Next. And then, yeah, like... Okay, we have a warning down here in the system tray. Okay, is it hiding behind here? This is just frozen. Yeah, the warning is not... Whatever it is, it's not showing up. Well, I don't really know where we go from here. I guess it froze. We can't even get anything on top of it. I don't know what warning... I mean, can we just hit, like, enter? Oh, there we go. Okay. So, I guess there was something that came up, some warning that we couldn't see, but I hit enter with it as the active window, and then it got past it. So, here we go. But yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, Wine can be pretty hit or miss, and pretty frustrating to use, especially at this time. But... it's copying stuff, so let's just let it do its thing and see where we get. Alright, it finished up, got to 100%. Setup has placed the Sierra utilities in your start menu, alright. Detected an up-to-date version of DirectX on your computer and will not attempt to update it, great. Says there may be updates, no, we're not going to bother with that because it's not going to be able to download them anyway. Please register now, okay, but I'm not going to bother doing that, so we'll just say register later. And then the whole thing just closed, so I guess it's done. I feel like we should have gotten a, you know, congratulations, it's installed, finished, but maybe not. I've installed this so many times, you think I would know that. But okay, so let's go to the Sierra folder on our, like, virtual C drive here, Half-Life. And let's see if it put in the, I keep wanting to call this the start menu, but, you know, oh yeah, well, there's Sierra Utilities. And under Programs, did it put it in Games? That would be really cool if it did. No, it did not. Okay, so did it not put Half-Life in here at all? Don't think it made a shortcut. Just gonna go through all these categories. Software development. Oh, Sierra. Yeah, no, there's just Sierra Utilities. Yeah, it put front page in here, and it's not anything I can like scroll down. I mean, there. Oh, whoa! What did I just do? I opened this up in a. That's actually nice. I've not done that before in KDE, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, you can just open these up in like a little. I guess that's what, yeah, what that option does down there. You can get it open in a little window. But yeah, it's not in here from what I can see. So we're just gonna run it. From this folder. Let's see what Wine can do. Okay, enter the CD key. Half-Life requires 16-bit color. Please change your desktop settings to high color. I think we've got it, what, set to like 24-bit color? What's our current, okay, well this is all just like appearance stuff. Screensaver. I guess we gotta go into the settings in here. Settings, look and feel display. I don't know, we can try to drop it down to 16. Go in here, do this whole thing again. So C, alright, Sierra, Half-Life, HL.exe. Oh, okay. I guess that was it. Although now the whole system has frozen up. I can't move the mouse around. I mean, you see nothing's happening. I think it just froze, but we'll give it a moment. Alright, it's been many moments and we're still here. I cannot press Alt-Tab or Control-Alt-Delete or anything to get out of this, so I think the system has just frozen, so we're gonna do a force reset. we had some victory because we got the program to install, but I still have that that no CD cracked version. We're gonna try that anyway. All right, so of course it brings up the. I just really love how the auto run like barely shows up. It shows 3 options, all of which you don't really care about. But all right, let's go back to the C drive. Actually, does Half-Life? No, it doesn't show up in the most recently opened programs. So, and it's interesting how like now that we've changed the color mode. I mean, look at this. Oh well, there it just fixed itself. But yeah, the menu bar and all that stuff, this toolbar was all screwed up. All right, 3rd time's a charm, right? Maybe? Is it the 3rd time? Oh, it's doing the same thing again. All right. So yeah, this is not looking too good, but like I mentioned, I do have the no CD crack that I believe is a different version of Half-Life. So, I mean, I don't know. It's worth a try. And this is the one we just got to copy this whole folder over to, we're just going to copy it over to the C drive, our virtual C folder. And there we go. So we'll hop into this folder. And we've got hl.exe. Now this will ask us for the CD key, which I do have on hand, or maybe not. Well, maybe I just didn't notice it before, but you see we have a button up there that says console, but it is just straight up, I mean, it is freezing, and it's doing the exact same thing. So yeah, we're not getting anywhere, unfortunately. Well, there you have it, guys. That is a look at Lindows OS 2.0. Honestly, I got mixed feelings about this one. I mean, on one hand, it's beginner's Linux distro designed for Windows users that were thinking of making the switch. It has Wine built in, so you can run, some Windows programs, but I'm not surprised that they just kind of stopped making that a focus of the operating system in later releases. But the fact that you had the Insider program and how all the pricing of these versions was so inconsistent, and the fact that you had to pay a subscription to get access to the click and run service was pretty annoying. But I do think that the court battle between Lindows and Microsoft was very interesting, and the fact that Microsoft basically lost and just had to pay them $20 million to buy the name was a victory for, somebody other than Microsoft at the time, so that's pretty awesome. And yeah, it's just an interesting chapter in Linux/Windows history. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. This is my last video for 2024, and I want to thank everybody just for a fantastic year. And as always, I will see you next year in the next video.